Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, it is March the 5th, and this is the Futures in 5, taking a look at the 5 futures markets that help us see what's going on in the broad spaces. Notice my arrow from several days past and how our price action comes into that relative support zone and bounces, and this breach here moving up into that pre-market and then fading the relative congestion. These are going to be the levels that we generally watch in terms of how tightly we are compressed inside of the relative range. Right now, we've got a bounce up, and that upside motion has got a little bit of an undercurrent. My suspicion is because of the broad divergences sitting in the market that we bounce into resistances, or those resistances fail, or we bounce off of the deep support areas where the breakdowns also fail. Price action still being fairly important around 2782 and 2803. So we've got about 20-something points to work with there. This morning is a relief bounce that's coming into the volume point of control here at the 2797 area. We can see a lot of sellers at 2799, so we're going to have to evaluate that from that perspective just to see what's going on with the chart. In general, my thought is pullbacks going to be buy zones until we stop making higher lows. Well, guess what? The first 4-hour candlestick that validates that frame of motion is here, and it's the move back down to 2790. Should we lose the 2790 area, it seems pretty relative that we would do what we've done in the past, and that is move back into the deeper support areas. If we continue to hold the volume point of control, we will expand into the last areas where we saw significant selling, and that's anywhere between 2803 and 2807. We are range bound, still a lot of news on the horizon, but a lot of intraday motion really forcing us out, running stops, and then shaking our confidence that price action is going to do what it's going to do. So be quick or be dead is pretty much where we're sitting right now. So you want to be super careful. A lot of times learning events like this are better for us to engage in rather than just saying, hey, I want to participate, because certainly a lot of us are getting stopped out at these support areas and trying to come back in. So what are we seeing? Upside motion here. So our moving averages are upside. We've got the same sort of relative resistance. Take a look at this area. We didn't quite get down into that zone, just on the edge of it, gave us a bounce, turned it right around. This is widening the range. So now we have to move this up into this particular region. There's more bullish content here in the NQ than sitting in the ES or really the YM. And as we look at that, we can see this number around 7137 doing the same thing. All of a sudden, we've got a failure to keep holding higher lows, but we are holding these edges. So once you start recovering congestion, you're able to participate with the knowledge and mindset that up here we've got sellers. Take a look at the thin volume profile here in this space. That is very, very interesting to look at in the broad picture. And that usually means, hey, we can come up here, get a little noisy. I suspect that we have another lower high today. So what might I be looking for? Failed resistance here with negative divergence, and that's going to help me engage in the trade. Look at these guys. This chart is suffering the most out of all of the morning price action. And so we've got to think about what that actually means. What it actually means is that there is a lot more trouble that traders are perceiving that's going to be an issue for the instruments inside of this offering, this YM. Very likely that we bounce into this area and then fade. Could we bounce up and over and then fade? Absolutely. We've got technical divergence. Most of our momentum is sitting inside of a neutral formation, and that gives us things that look like this. They look like expanding wedges. Upside here, downside here. So we have both higher highs and lower lows. Could we end up having a beautiful diamond pattern? Yes, if we compress here. Volatility, interestingly, is only a little wider. And so to me, that says, hey, we're going to pop right up in this space. Look at all of this thin volume that was here on the breakdown. It's going to come here and chop around. We've got another mosh pit ahead in my mind. Take a look at this. Neutral zone behavior. Double topping formation. We saw that yesterday. The pullback into higher lows. Now, you know that my supposition is that we definitively have bullish pressure in this chart. You can see the undercurrent of motion in my adaptive moving average. This is Motive Wave. Hey, listen, Motive Wave is going to have a March Madness sale. And if you haven't gotten this software, I've been using them for a decade, and they remain rock solid and get better every single time. And I don't make a penny from saying that. It is just what I have used for a month of Sundays. It's been very, 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 very good to me. All right, so here we are looking at this 100 Kaufman adaptive. It still gives us bullish motion. It tells any deep dips we are to see, we need to look for buying pressure. Where is that buying pressure showing up? It's right here around 55.70, and it's been there for a while. And so what we want to look at is how well can we hold here? We've got the API after the close today, the EIA tomorrow. Could it easily bounce higher? Yes. Could it easily come back in here and compress some more? Yes, indeed. What you want to do is take a look. I like to replicate this. Let's copy. And then we'll paste it. And we'll go here and take a look at this wedge. You want to watch those edges. They're going to be really important for you as a trader. Now, this is the big one. This one, I think, has the most strength of motion in general. And so here's why I think that. If we pull back, we can see over here we had a lot of noise. This is a buy zone that turned into a monster move to the upside. And so everyone looking at this chart that knows to look to the left is seeing all of this information. I talked about this level yesterday. I said, hey, listen, we want to watch this zone. If it holds this region, it's going to give us a bounce zone. If it fails, the next area of support is down at 1281. I remain the same in terms of my thought action about this. What I notice is that there are a lot of sellers setting up at 1290. So I would suggest that a structured position that says, hey, when it comes in here, take a few long, and then as it comes into this zone, take a couple off of that area, and when it comes back, continue to reinforce the trade. A lot of motion, looks like it's going to lift, but as long as this stays in negative traction territory, it's going to have a rough go of it. See, what happened here is it came down and it immediately began to bounce, and then that bounce area gave way to positive divergence that sent us upside. Guess what we don't have here yet? That positive divergence. So holding here and saying, no, it's going to lift, bad idea, because nothing's telling us that it's going to lift. There's no undercurrent sitting here. So we move up into this resistance zone and wait for that pullback. If it continually pulls back and it cannot get above 1290, this is eventually going to fade. So you better take profit where you see it. Good luck trading today. We're going to have probably a fairly congested and messy day. So watch your size and be patient with your formations.